Good morning everyone. Welcome back to the class of mathematics. This video is for the students of class 7 and this is summary lecture of chapter number 8 comparing quantities. As we have completed chapter number 8 in the previous lecture, so in this lecture I will discuss main concepts and results of the chapter, that is chapter number 8 comparing quantities. So let us start with first point. So first important point is to compare two quantities. Their units must be same. It means if you are comparing two quantities, first thing you have to remember that their units must be same. For example, 3 meter and 3000 centimeter. You have to compare them. It means you have to find the ratio. Ratio is one way for comparing the quantities, and another way we have learned is percentage. So first we will discuss about ratios. Okay, suppose we have to find the ratio of 3 meter and 3000 centimeter. For this I have to convert these two quantities in same unit. Now this is meter, this is the bigger unit, so I will convert this in smaller unit. So 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So 3 meter is equal to 300 centimeter. So 3 meter can be written as 300 centimeter, ratio 3000 centimeter. Now if you will cancel them, you will get 1 ratio 10. Okay, so this is how you can compare the ratio. You can compare the quantities through ratio. Now come to the second point. Second point we have is two ratios can be compared by converting them into like fractions. Okay, now if you have to compare two ratios, okay, you have to compare two ratios, then you can compare them by converting them into like fractions. Like fraction means the fractions having same denominator. Okay, for comparing two ratios, you have to convert the ratio in like fractions first. Then if the two fractions are equal, then we can say the given ratios are equivalent. Okay, if the two fractions come out to be equal, then we can say the ratios are equivalent. So let us consider an example. We have two ratios given that are 3/2 and 7/3. First I have to convert them in like fraction. It means I have to make their denominator same. So for that I will first take the LCM of denominator of the given fraction. Denominators of the given fraction. Here the denominators are 2 and 3 and their LCM is 6. Now I will make denominator equal to 6 in each fraction. Okay, so 3/2, how you will make its denominator equal to 6? By multiplying numerator and denominator by 3. So it will be 9/6. Same for second fraction you have to do. We have given 7/3. I have to make their denominator equal to their LCM. So you have to think a number such that that number should be multiplied with numerator and denominator so that we get the denominator as 6. So that number is 2. I will multiply numerator and denominator of the fraction by 2 to get the denominator 6. So I will get 14/6. Now I have to compare these two quantities. Now their denominators are same, or you can say they are in like fraction. Now which one is greater? 14 is greater than 9. I will compare the numerators only if I am having the same denominator. So it will be 14/6 is greater than 9/6. So I can say in the given fraction 7/3 is greater than 3/2. So this is how you can compare the ratios. If they comes out to be equal, then we can say the ratios are equivalent ratios. Now come to the third point. Third point is one of the ways of comparing quantities is percentage. It means through percentage we can compare the quantities. Percentage is derived from the Latin word percentum, which means per hundred. Okay, so percentage means per hundred. Percentage is represented by the symbol, this symbol, and it means hundredth. Okay, percentage means hundredth, or you can say out of 100. For example, 2% means 2/100. We can say 2 parts out of 100. So percentage simply means out of 100, or you can say 100th. Okay. Now fractions can be converted into percentages and vice versa. Vice versa means percentages can be converted into fractions and fractions can be converted into percentages. So let us understand this. Suppose we have given any fraction and we have to convert them in percentage. For that, you have to multiply the given fraction by 100%. Okay. So you will get the required percentage. Again, I am explaining, if you have to convert a fraction into a percentage, then you have to multiply the given fraction by 100% and then you will get the required percentage. Okay. Now, converse means if you have to convert percentage into fraction, then how you will convert? Suppose you have to convert 75% into fraction. So 75% means out of 100. So 75% can be written as 75 over 100. So in this way, you can convert fractions into percentage and percentages into fractions. Okay. Now come to the next point. Next point we are having is decimals can also be converted into percentages and vice versa. It means you can convert decimals into percentages or percentages into decimals. Okay. Now suppose we have given a decimal number, that is 0.2, and we have to convert it into percentage. So for that, I will first remove the decimal. After the decimal, we are having one digit only, so I will divide it with 10. Now 2 by 10, 0.2 is same as 2 by 10, and this 2 by 10 you have to convert in percentage. For converting in percentage, we have learned that fraction must be multiplied with 100%. Okay, so I have multiplied it with 100%, so the result is 20%. This is how you can convert a decimal into a percentage. First you have to remove the decimal and then you have to multiply it with 100%. Now come to the converse. Converse means how you will convert percentages into decimals. Okay. Suppose we have given 20% and we have to convert in decimal. Okay. So 20% can be written as 20 over 100 because percentage itself means out of 100. Now in simplest form, 1 0 is cancelled with 1 0. 2 over 10 can be written as 0.2 or you can say 0.2. Okay. This is how we have converted percentages into decimal. Okay, so I hope it is clear how you will convert decimal into percentages and percentages into decimal. Now come to the next point. After that, we have learned about prices related to an item or buying and selling. Okay, so in this we have learned about cost price, or you can say CP. CP means the buying price of any item is known as cost price. Suppose if you have to purchase something, the price for which you are purchasing anything, that is known as cost price, or in short you can write it as cost price. Okay, so here I have given example. Suppose this is an object and this is a shopkeeper. Okay, so I bought it for rupees 600. There is an object and I bought that object for rupees 600. It means that is cost price. So here in this case, cost price is 600. Cost price means the buying price. Okay, simply the price at which a commodity or an object is purchased, that is known as cost price. After that, we have learned about selling price. The price at which you sell any item is known as selling price, or in short that is known as SP. Or you can say the price at which an item is sold, that is known as selling price, or in short SP. Okay, so this is selling price of a article, or you can say of any item. Now we can decide whether the sale is profitable or not depending on the CP and SP. Depending on CP and SP, we can decide that whether the sale is profitable or not. So for that first case we have is if CP is less than SP. If cost price is less than selling price, then we have the profit, and that profit is given by SP minus CP. For that, let us take an example. Rama bought a shirt for rupees 210. Bought means this is cost price, and sold it at rupees 250. It means this is selling price. So this is cost price. This is the price which that is purchased. This is the price that a shirt is purchased. Okay, and this is the selling price. This is the price at which the shirt is sold. So here CP is less than SP. So we can say that in this case we have profit. And profit of how many rupees? That is 250 minus 210 means SP minus CP will give you the profit, and that is rupees 40. Now second case, if CP is equal to SP, then there will be no profit or no loss. Suppose if you are buying something at rupees 210 and the same thing you are selling it at rupees 210. In this case, CP is equal to SP. So there is no loss and no profit in this case. Now third case we have learned, if CP is greater than SP. In this case there is a loss, and loss is given by CP minus SP. Okay. In the case of loss, CP is always greater than SP. Example is given. CP of an item is 92 and SP is rupees 80. Here CP is greater than SP. So this is a case of loss, and how much the loss will be, that is given by CP minus SP. Here CP is 92 and SP is 82. So 92 minus 80 is rupees 12. So there is a loss of rupees 12. This we have learned in previous lecture. After that we have learned about profit or loss as percentage. Suppose we have to convert profit and loss in percentages, then how you will convert? So profit percent, that is equal to profit over CP into 100. Okay, how you will convert profit into profit percent? That is given by profit over CP into 100. And same, if you have to convert loss in loss percentage, then how you will convert? That is given by loss over CP into 100. Important thing is you have to take loss percent and profit percent. You have to find on cost price always. Okay, so this is the important point, that whenever you have to find profit and loss percent, then it is always calculated on cost price. So this is how you can calculate profit or loss as percentage. After profit and loss, we have discussed about charge given on borrowed money, or you can simply say simple interest. We have learned about simple interest. So here are some important terms that is related to this topic, simple interest. So let us discuss them. Principal. First one is principal. So what do you mean by principal? The money you borrow is known as sum borrowed or principal. These are the same thing, sum borrowed or principal. Suppose you have borrowed some money from either from bank or from somewhere. So that money is known as sum borrowed, or you can say principal. Okay, the money that is borrowed, that is known as sum, or you can say principal. After that come to interest, or you can say simple interest. For keeping this money for some time, the borrower has to pay some extra money to the bank. Let us read it again. For keeping the money for some time. Suppose you have to keep the money, you have to use the money for some time. The borrower has to pay some extra money to the bank. Suppose you have borrowed some amount, you have borrowed a loan from the bank. Then for keeping the money for some time, the borrower has to pay some extra money to the bank, and that extra money is known as interest. Okay, so this is known as interest. Now come to the amount. Amount is simply principal plus interest. The amount that is borrowed and the extra amount for keeping the money for some time, that is their addition is known as amount. Okay, now interest is generally given in percent for a period of 1 year. It is written as say 10% per year or per annum. Okay, So interest is generally given on percent for a period of 1 year. Suppose somewhere it is written 10% per annum. It means the interest is rupees 10 out of 100 per year. Okay. Simply, this statement means interest is generally given percent for a period of 1 year. Okay. Here, if per annum means per year. Okay. So interest is always given for 1 year, for a period of 1 year. This is written in this statement. So in general, if principal denotes rupees P, or you can say if principal denotes P, then simple interest can be calculated by P into R over 100. That is simply means P into R percent. For removing the percent, because rate of interest is always given in percent. Okay, and for removing the percent, we have put 100. So simply it is P into R over 100. This is simple interest for 1 year. Okay. Suppose you have to calculate simple interest, or you can say interest for multiple years. Multiple years means more than 1 year. Then interest paid for 1 year. This we have done, that interest paid for 1 year is this. And if you have to find interest for multiple year, suppose for T years, then interest can be given by P into R into T over 100. Here P is the principal, that is amount borrowed. R is the rate of interest per year, and time, for how many years, for how many period of time the money is to be kept with the borrower. Okay, over 100. So this is how you can calculate interest, simple interest. Okay. Now amount means principal plus interest, that is amount borrowed plus interest, the extra amount. Okay, that will give you the amount. Okay. So in general, simple interest can be calculated as P into R into T over 100, where P is the principal, that is amount borrowed, R is the rate of interest, and T is the time. Okay, over 100. This is how you can calculate simple interest. Using the same formula, principal, how you will calculate principal? If simple interest, rate and time are given, then how you will calculate principal? That is given by this SI, that is simple interest, into 100 over R into T. Okay. Now same for rate. How you will calculate rate? Rate is SI into 100 over T into T. And come to the time, how you will calculate time? If simple interest, principal and rate are given, so time you can calculate by SI into 100 over P into R. Derivation we have learned in the lecture. So here I am only taking the result. Okay. So if any of the three quantities are given, you can find the fourth quantity, because this formula for simple interest is having four quantities. Okay. Simple interest P, R and T. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have given any of the three quantities, you can find the fourth one using these formulas. Suppose you have given principal, rate and time, then you can calculate the simple interest. And if you have given simple interest, rate and time, then you can calculate the principal. Same here, if you have to find rate in which simple interest, principal and time are given, then you can calculate it by using this formula. And same for time period. Okay, where P denotes principal, R denotes rate of interest, T denotes time, and SI denotes simple interest. So this is all about the summary of the chapter number 8, comparing quantities. Questions related to these topics we have covered in the lecture. So if you have any doubt in the questions, just rewatch the lectures, and I hope it is clear to you. Now let us discuss the homework solution of the previous lecture. So in the previous lecture, I have given question number 9, 10 and 11 of exercise 8.3 that you have to do in classwork notebook. So here I am I will discuss these questions, and then you have to do these questions in your fair notebook. So let us start with question number 9, and these are of exercise 8.3. So find the amount to be paid at the end of 3 years. Okay, here principal is given to be rupees 1200, and this is rate because this is given to be 12% per annum. This is the unit of rate. So this is rate of interest, at which rate the amount is to be borrowed. Okay, so we have to find the amount. Amount simply means principal plus simple interest, and this is principal we have given. We don't have the simple interest, so first we will calculate simple interest. Okay, how you will calculate simple interest? That is given by this formula, P into R into T over 100, where P is principal, R is rate of interest, and T is time. Okay, so here principal is given to be 1200, rate is 12% per annum. Okay, and time is 3 years. So first I will calculate simple interest, that is P into R into T over 100. P we have given 1200, R we have given 12, and T we have given 3 years. Okay, so on solving I will get rupees 432. It means this is simple interest, means the extra amount that the borrower has to pay, okay, with the principal. So this is extra amount. Now how you will find amount? Amount means principal plus simple interest, the total amount paid along with the interest or simple interest. So the amount is the total money paid along with interest and simple interest, principal and simple interest, that is amount. Amount is principal plus simple interest. Principal we have given and simple interest we have calculated. So principal is 1200 and simple interest is 432. On adding you will get 1632, that is the amount paid after 3 years. So this is question number 9th A part. Now come to question number 10. Question number 10 we are having is, what rate gives rupees 280 as interest on a sum of rupees 56,000 in 2 years? We have to find the rate, as the question is saying what rate gives rupees 280 as interest. In this is given interest, okay, or you can say simple interest, because this is simply written gives 280 as interest on a sum. So on a sum means this is given to be principal. So sum means principal, and here principal is 56,000 and time is given to be 2 years. We have to calculate the rate. So in this question we have given principal, that is 56,000, time is 2 years, and interest is given rupees 280, and we have to find the rate. So how you will calculate rate? So we know that rate can be calculated as simple interest into 100 over P into T. We have given simple interest as rupees 280, 100, and P we have given is 56,000, T is 2 years. On solving you will get 1 by 4. This is rate of interest, 1 by 4% per annum. Okay, so this is your question number 10. You have to find the rate. Just apply the formula and put the values, you will get the rate. Now come to question number 11. If Meena gives an interest, again it is given to be interest of rupees 45 for 1 year at 9% rate per annum. This is rate, this is interest, and we have to calculate what is the sum. Sum means principal we have to calculate. So the thing which is given, that you have to written first, that you have to write first. Interest, that is rupees 45, rate we have given, and time, this is 1 year. Okay, it is given in the question that this is interest for 1 year. So time is we have is 1 year. We have to find the principal. Again we know that principal is given by SI into 100 over R into T, that is 45, because SI, that is simple interest, that is given to be 45 into 100 over 9 into 1. Time we have is 1. On solving you will get 500. This is the principal. Okay, so this is the sum she has borrowed. So this is question number 11. Simply you have to find the principal. We have given simple interest, rate, and time. Only you have to apply the formula to get the value of principle. So this is all about homework solution. Now come to the homework. So homework is you have to do question number 9, 10 and 11 of exercise 8.3 in your fair notebook or in homework notebook, and you have to revise all the formulas that you have learned in chapter number 8. Okay, so this is summary lecture. After that I will provide you the assignment. You have to do the assignment in your homework notebook, and then you have the test of the chapter of this chapter, that is chapter number 8. So this is all about the lecture. Keep liking our videos. Thank you so much.